So the MTX stereo system that we got installed by the dealer when we bought this 2022 XRS sucks. And today we're going to try and do something about it. So here's the Can Am MTX stereo that we got installed when we bought this thing. Which the dealer, I didn't know when we bought it. I didn't know until after it was all done. But we paid like $3,700 for this stereo and having it installed, which this stereo is only like $1,200–1,300 on Amazon. It has okay features. It's not great. It has auxiliary, but the auxiliary port is just one of those ports that like you would see for like, you know, where you could plug it into, you know, like a headphone style type jack from back in the day. It's not a USB port, so I'm not sure what the reasons for that is. It seems really stupid. It does have Bluetooth, and then it has FM AM radio with presets, so you can set some radio stations. It has adjustments for bass, treble, and balance. It has no fader adjustment, which is stupid since this has front and rear speakers. So don't know why they did what they did. It's rated for 800 watts, but it definitely doesn't make what it sounds to me like 800 watts of sound. On the driver's side here is where the 6.5-inch subwoofer is, and on the passenger side is the amplifier. There is a couple little speakers up in the front. They're tiny. They don't really produce a lot of sound, especially when you're driving. When you're sitting still, the stereo is actually pretty loud, but when you're driving, there's just not any sound that's coming up into the front two seats. Meanwhile, though, because you'll have the thing cranked like all the way up, the people in the back seats will just be getting like music blared in their ear, you know, just like going deaf back here. But the people in the front two seats can't hear it when you're driving, you know, at any kind of speed. We're going to try and add a couple of speakers to go up in between those two roll cage tubes. So just to give you guys an idea of what the sound is like when you're driving. And now we're just sitting still. Sprinkles up there in the field going off. Pretty loud. Volume's at like 26 or something. And pretty loud when you're sitting here. Now we're going to start driving. And you'll see quickly it gets quieter. I do have the windshield out, so if they don't know that. Right now, I can't even hear the music. All I know is turn this video all the way up. All the way up right now. I can hear it. Pretty loud too. Back down to the neighbors. They can hear it outside of the car really well. But we can't hear it in the front seats. Back to a stop. Hey, look, we can hear the radio again. So here's my plan for fixing, or attempting to fix, the sound issue when we're driving. Is I'm going to put this little molded pod for some 6.5-inch speakers in between those front two bars of the cage. And what I did is I ordered a couple of Rockford Fosgate 6.5-inch coaxial marine speakers. And then I ordered this Kemimoto molded pod for, actually I think it is considered to be made for in between those bars on the X3. It's just some molded plastic, but it doesn't have a back to it. So I wanted to seal it. That thing's designed just to be mounted straight to the roof, to the underside of the roof. But I wanted to mount it to the cage and I wanted to seal it. I did take this molded pod thing and I notched it. See where I cut it out there along this side? So that when it's stuck onto the aluminum, it kind of snaps down over it. And that way maybe I can get a better fit and seal than how it was. They do have a little spot right here on each side for wires to run out. I'll be, once I figure out where I'm going to run the wires exactly anyways, I'll seal this thing up with some silicone, build a bead of silicone around on the inside. Doing a lot of kind of test fitting and figuring out how I wanted to do this. The best way I came up with of what I liked is I drilled a little hole right here for the speaker wires to come out the little provided notch, and then go up to the top of the plate, top side of the plate, because it's going to be upside down like this, to go up to the top side of the plate and have the wires run along the cage. Drill the hole that's just on the outside of that so I can feed the wires through there. Now I'm ready to put this on and seal it. So I'm gonna do silicone around the edges here. Hopefully I don't do too goddamn much. Oops. Yeah, already off to a bad start. Okay. Alright. Gotta work on this a little bit here. Let's get a little bit better. These are those ones that were in the dash. They're just real little speakers with a couple of tweeters. But in order to get to the wiring, took them apart, and so I'm going to connect them, the speaker wires going to the new speakers, soldered to those terminals. What I did is I stuck the speaker wire through one of those holes, ran it up to a hole in the top there. That way the speaker wire can be connected onto the cage and over to the little speaker pod in the middle there. Mount this thing up here. What I did is I just measured from right here up to the plate itself on both sides. I set this 7 inches back from this point here to the plate, and then just centered it. Some of the silicone squished out, but it's nice and sealed up inside there, so that'll work out well. Now I just got to get wires connected to the terminals on these speakers. now that the speakers on the roof are all installed, the difference in sound inside here is a lot louder. So like earlier we had the volume up much more. And so now the volume's only at like 11, 12, and we've got the same kind of sound level as when we had it at like 20 to 23 on the volume. And then as you start driving, it does get a little bit quieter, but not nearly as much as it did before, because we're still way lower in the volume. We turn it up to like 20, 23, 24. It's still way louder than it was before. We can hear it a whole lot better, whereas before we had to have the volume almost full blast in order to hear it at the same level as right now.
Monday morning, the classic rock station, 102.5.
Took the X3 to the dunes and tested out the new speakers, and they sounded amazing the whole time. Could hear everything perfect. Had no problems at all. I don't think we ever had the volume above like halfway. Didn't have to turn it all the way up to max volume in order to hear things. When we were going 65, 70, I think there was a few times where we were doing mid 70s, almost 80, and we could hear everything perfect. And the grills look like the original MTX grills, very similar in style to the MTX grill, and so that was great, and sounded amazing. And so now it's so dirty, so dusty in there, but I'm really happy with the Fosgate speakers. They sound amazing, and makes the stereo actually sound like it probably should have to begin with. Now just to add some more bass, I got to put some bigger subs in this thing because it's lacking in bass, but that Kemimoto pod fit perfect up in between there, and really happy with it. It all turned out really well.